the IDEA Task Force is sponsoring the ECITB's very first ED&I campaign, which we launched this month. This is the campaign's first week, and we're here to start a dialogue that we hope will continue to develop in the coming weeks and months.
There's perhaps the perception that some people, if they do have a mental health issue, that is a weakness, so they might not feel inclined to tell people or seek out help.
I think the last 12 to 18 months has accelerated lots of people's understanding of mental health, because everybody has had challenges during this lockdown period and during the pandemic. And kind of, what is mental health? I don't really understand the definition of mental health. And I think sometimes we have to be careful that those basics are fully understood by everybody across our industry and in our families and friends as well, and understand what that might mean.
We open up a lot of our training and meetings with, asking people, how are you? And instead of saying, hey, I'm Paul Hendry, I'm from Glasgow, I've got 3 kids, I've been with Jacobs 9 years, we just say, what's in your mind today?
Welcome everybody. I'm Becky Pleasant. I work for the ECITB as their diversity champion, as well as my day job, which is head of nuclear skills strategy.
I am Terry Hargreaves. I'm one of the diversity and inclusion advisors at Sellafield Limited, but I've actually worked for Sellafield for coming up to 8 years. And prior to that, I was kind of involved in this side of things because during my employment time here, I was actually diagnosed as being on the autistic spectrum, which as a family and personally, I'd suspected and known about for years prior, but had never pursued a diagnosis until it started to impact me in the workplace. And thankfully, Sellafield, prior to the D&I team becoming a thing, we already had quite a few employee-led support networks that were grown by members of our workforce who just saw a need and felt a commonality around that. And actually the second employee-led support network ever established was the site Autism Support Network, which actually got rebranded to the Nuclear Autism Support Network.
So yeah, we've got a number of networks at Wood, and like Terry mentioned, a lot of them were very much bottom-up, employee-led, and still are employee-led. But one area that has really taken off in the last few months has been our other group, which is neurodiversity at Wood. Okay. So really focusing in specifically on neurodiversity has really seemed to have taken a light, I think, within the organisation.
The catalyst for me was when I started the company, got trained, was quite happy in my job, but I knew I wanted to progress careers, and how you do that internally at Sellafield was unlike any kind of interview process I'd had in the past. It was very much competency based, and you would be asked a question. I've since learned the expectation is you tell a story about something you've done that outlines that.
My definition of a hero is someone who leads by an example of how through perseverance, determination and focus, one can solve everyday problems. My father is my hero because he exhibits all these qualities. I recall as a child growing up, my father used to pick me up with his classic 1995 Mercedes-Benz, which tend to break down on the road more often than not. I found myself asking him, why don't you just give up on the car? But he reminded me of the importance of not giving up on something worth fighting for. As a result, I rolled up my sleeves and got tucked in with him to fix the car and get it back on the road. It was these experiences and the influence of my father that led me to pursue a career as a mechanical engineer. That is why my father is my hero.
Our staff and board members are delighted to be celebrating this day and the women engineers that are part of our industry, and so am I.
In the UK, we're actually very lucky because legal regulations are at place to maintain equalities regardless of sex, religion, ethnic background, and so on. However, to be honest, and between me and you, this is far from being enough and actually the standard minimum. Because I think to fully reap the benefits of a very efficient, inclusive environment, This actually goes far beyond legal compliance.
Inclusion in the workplace starts with a high level of self-awareness that allows us to accept and celebrate diversity within our teams and uphold these values in everything we do. Reminding ourselves that the end users of design have different perspectives, needs and characteristics has never been so important as we, as a society, evolve into a more diverse and accepting group, welcoming people of all backgrounds and different ways of living.
People might have family requirements, so they might need to leave work early. International clients might be joining the call, so the timing of the meeting should be considered, so it's not set too early or too late if possible. By making someone feel respected within the meeting, they will feel more comfortable to share their ideas.
Leading to equality of opportunity for everyone, from career progression to even just feeling like your viewpoint's being heard. Whether it is speaking up when we feel ourselves or others are being excluded in the workplace, or making sure the recruitment process is accessible to a diverse pool of people, we should always be striving to be more inclusive. Making sure everyone feels able to talk and question ideas is so important in an engineering workspace, because it allows us to be creative and innovate, as people with different perspectives and opinions challenging the status quo drives the industry to progress in a really positive way.